then so I'll just switch us back to the two people. This one, right? Hey Dave, how you doing?
Hey, great, Andre.
Cool. So yeah, it's all good. I know last week we missed the AI stuff because I think you were busy, so we didn't really do it. But we're looking forward to do it this Thursday again, right? So that's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
cool. So today we're mainly gonna carry on with kind of like just looking through the verified modules and then trying to modify it to make it our own. Because what we did before was we deployed from examples, right? But what would happen if we tried to, create and use a module from our own kind of like starting point? So there are probably a few things that we would need to put out, but that's basically what the plan is for today. I haven't fully tested working with the verify module, but that's what I'm looking forward to basically do it today to in terms of the coding, and we're just gonna code away, see if we can get anything running. And if we can't, then I'll take some time. Maybe what I might do is I might like live stream.
Just lost you, Andre. Video and audio. Well, okay. Well, that's a little awkward. So, while we wait for you to come back, if anybody's joined us, go ahead and say hello in the chat. I don't know. I haven't joined it yet. All right. Let's see. So I think, oh good, my patience is rewarded. I was about to take over and go through my spiel for Thursday, so I'm really glad you came back. Thank you for coming back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was a power thing, so it kind of crashed, but yeah, that's fine. What we will probably do is we will go through the example. So I'm just gonna share my screen, I guess, and then we're just gonna go through it. So that's gonna be a bit of fun. Let me see. So I'm just gonna share my screen here, entire screen, and this one over here. And then, we're gonna. So last time what we did was we basically put the Terraform Azure AKS folder over here. Now this contains the entire module. What we want to do essentially is we want to create our own folder, which is gonna basically reference this module. So in terms of like what we're gonna do is we will just bring up a new terminal. Because remember last week, all we did was we copied this from the Azure Terraform verified modules. And then what we did was we basically ran from examples, the startup, and we saw that going. However, what I'd like to do is I'd like to create our own. So what we will do is we'll just go back a layer. And over here, we're going to basically work through and create. So instead of opening this folder, I just want to open a Kubernetes folder. And in here we have the module, but in here we want to have some files as well. So we probably want the main TF, startup. What essentially what I'll be doing is looking to get some of these modules from here. But what I want to do, Dave, for fun, is essentially instead of me going through and trying to, copying all of this and then basically, and then pasting it without actually understanding every bit. What I want to do is I want to copy these bits slowly over time and then understand these bits like what do they do? How do they work? How do they actually work with the module? Because we saw that in the startup, it was like, okay, fine, if we deploy with AKS, that works fine, but how do we actually deploy? Like, how do we actually deploy by using this instead of examples, by using this module? And that's what we're going to look into. Hope that makes sense.
So what's the smallest unit that you can deploy just to get started and so that your version's working?
Well, there are a few things that we would need to create. So whenever you create any like Terraform or anything like that, this is kind of a Terraform guideline, because essentially when you work with Terraform, I might have explained this last week, but when you work with Terraform, what happens is it's going to compact all the main.tf, your TF vars, everything in one go into like this big long list, which the machine is just going to read through it, right? But from a human perspective, we can't really, have a large file, because it's not, because it's going to be readable, unreadable. Two, the way to organize is not going to be good. So essentially, what we would need is a couple of files over here, which I will basically recreate. So the main ones that usually are main.tf, variables, providers, and of course you can have the outputs, but at the beginning it's not necessary, but I'll include it anyway. So those are the 4 files that you at least should have. So that's what we will do. So I'm just going to minimize this, create a new file called was it variables.tf? I'll create a new file called providers.tf, and I'll create a new file called what was the other one? Outputs, yes, that's the one. So I'll create outputs.tf. So right now we're seeing that basically a blank of main.tf outputs, etc., etc. So this is what I kind of wanted to get and try and, because most of the time we see people might want to try and copy this, but we will look at it. So let's have a look first of all. What are we exactly having? So in this location, in the main.tf, what it's saying is resource. So it has a few resources that it'll be using. And then it'll be, so Azure Virtual Network, and it will be deploying that. Azure Subnet, and there'll be a module for AKS.
Oh.
So that's what we're going to be looking at. So this is the module. I mean, if we want like even a more of a granular example, what we can do is let me just bring up something on the website. Just bring up something. So if I look for Terraform AKS.
Still shows your, there it is. Yeah, there it comes.
Yeah. So we have an Azure RM Kubernetes. Oh, so 1 second. Azure RM Kubernetes cluster. So they say that in order to deploy this, you would need the resource, Azure RM resource group, example, name, a resource, default node pool. So what I will do is I will start to construct it from here. But then eventually what I'm going to do is I'm going to reference a module that we saw, the Azure Verified module. So that's what we're going to do, because I want to make sure that we learn this bit by bit. We learn, oh, hey, this bit does this, or this bit does this. So that's basically the plan. So in the main.tf, let's just go into the code. We first of all need an Azure RAM resource group. If we compare this main.tf, it'll say data, Azure RAM, and then it'll say that, hey, we need a variable, right, for the resource group name. And that variable is going to come from here. Okay. So, but just so we understand it, let's just do this. So, not that one. That's my YouTube if anyone wants to visit it, which you should be on. But yeah, feel free to be on our channels. So in this way, what we're basically telling Terraform is, hey, we're gonna deploy the resource group for example, in UK South. We're gonna have the name. I don't know. Let's just say Andre and Dave. That's the Terraform. That's a bit too long, but I'll just do TF. And then basically, and then this is used as an example. So if you were going to, like, for example, references, so I could call it whatever I want, really. I could call it AKS resource. Doesn't matter. What matters to know is that this is what it's going to be referencing the Azure RM resource group in Terraform.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have.
So what do you want to call that? So the name AKS resource is just what you're calling it, but you want that. You want people to know that means that you're referencing the resource group that you're defining.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're essentially going to be doing is just by doing this, it should. Well, I haven't set most of the things, but let me just log in first and make sure that I can log in. And then I'm going to log into my account. Sorry, AZ account show. So I am logged into this tenant, this subscription ID. Let me just make sure that I am logged into the right tenant. So I should be logged into the right tenant. Cool. And as the subscription that I want is this is the ID 1B. Yeah. I believe that is the one I want. Let me just make sure. Sorry, I'm just having a look on my side over here. Don't
make sure you're in the right place, right?
Yeah. Make sure. I'm actually going to deploy it to a different subscription of mine. I have a Visual Studio subscription, which is going to be, which I get as part of being a Microsoft certified trainer. I get access to a development subscription. So I'm going to use that because basically it'll be a bit freer in terms of my kind of cost stability. So I'm just going to switch to that. So I'm going to do AZ account set subscription, and then I'm going to set my subscription to be this one. So if I do AZ account show, be on that subscription. As you can see, it's my Visual Studio Enterprise subscription. So because I'm now on this, and I have a bunch of resources over here, but I don't have let me just show you guys. So I have the subscription over here, which is my Visual Studio subscription. You might recognize this if you've watched any of my previous videos for the CAF. You would notice that I've got level 3, level 4. It's still there. I haven't deleted it, so hopefully you're proud of me for that. When I did, if you're interested, I did a few cloud adoption frameworks before. I'm probably going to do more videos on this, but the first thing I want to do is this Kubernetes, and then we can go from there. But yeah, in terms of what we need is right there. So if we just did Terraform init.
Hold on. Can you because you have a separate structure here. So right now, this Kubernetes structure you have is just the code that you have.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And the stuff that you're referring to is up in a different subdirectory.
Right. So, yeah. Okay. So what we're going to try and build first, I just want to build like how you might build something normally. And then we will reference this project as it goes, So I just want to make sure everybody gains an understanding because I aim to be teaching this not just from like a perspective of like, oh, you may know Terraform. I'm teaching it from the perspective of you may have never touched Terraform before, but you like to learn this, and I'm trying to teach it as well through that way. So I'm hopefully this will appeal to everybody. If you're interested in more kind of advanced work, wait a couple of weeks, we'll get there. But yeah, in terms of, so what I did right now was I initialized my Terraform. So what you would see over here is that because I haven't specified any provider or anything like that, it just picked a provider for me. But it has done a few things for me like this. So right now it's using Terraform version 3.96. And yeah, so if I just did Terraform plan, we should see if this works. We might need some more things. So this is what I usually always get whenever you deploy Terraform. They would say at least one features block required. So what does this mean? So, I always, I always get this, but I always need to refresh my memory from that. So if we did that,
they changed the syntax.
So this is where the providers comes in, because this is where you would specify providers. So if we had a look at the Terraform Azure RAM module, where we can basically take from the should be in examples and I don't know, named cluster, you would see providers. Now you would see that you have the required version, required providers, but then I believe you have features. What I'm going to do, you have providers and then you have features. So it requires at least this. Terraform always requires at least this. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this, we're going to put it into here, and then we're going to basically go into the code. So this is a good way if you really wanted to learn Terraform kind of from scratch and just like understand it more holistically. That's where you can this is a good way you can actually learn how to fully do it. So what we will go through now here, and then we will do the features. So we have saved this. We have now the providers and the main TF. So as I explained before, what will happen is when you have like Terraform and it's gonna basically use and you're running off a certain section, it will now it's going to go and it's going to try and create a plan. Let's see if it does that, because I've now saved the providers. But this is what I was trying to explain before, that in here it will consolidate all of these files into one file on as far as the computer is concerned. So that's something to understand. So it's doing its thing. Let's hope it'll get there very soon. Come on.
It hasn't aired out anyway.
One? No, yeah, it sometimes takes a bit. Oh.
Didn't like the features blocks. No, that's something earlier. It's still doing plan.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for my Visual Studio Code to update. Let me just try and create a new module. Sorry, a new terminal. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just do Terraform. Let me just have a look.
Oh, it went.
All right, it did it. So over here, Terraform uses selected. So it'll say Azure RM resource group.aks resource will be created. And it says want to add. So let's have a look. I'm just going to do Terraform apply auto approve, right? Because that's what we're going to be doing. So, yeah. Hyphen auto approve. Actually, no, let's, yeah, why not? So basically what auto approve does is it allows you to go through. I've seen what the plan is. I'm happy to deploy the resource group. I just want to auto approve. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you will just have this. It'll run the plan again, and it'll just ask me to press yes. So that's what I'm going to do. You can see here that the following will be created, an Azure resource group. So we're going to do it. We're going to put yes, and then we're going to actually create it. So, right. So resources created. Let's have a look, see if it has actually done it. So what did we call it? What did we call it? Let's see. So Andre and Dave TF. There you go. And as simple as that, we've created a resource group. This is just a simple resource group where we're going to be using, data. So let's go back now. Now, what we will do is go through the Terraform. What was it? We're going to go through the Terraform. So that's been deployed. That's been created. So combining all of this, we're now going to be looking into the next bit. So if we have a quick look over here, the next bit is to actually use the resource for an Azure RM cluster, for a Kubernetes cluster. It's going to use the name, location, DNS prefix, tags, and everything like that. We're not going to use the output because we'll go through the outputs in a bit. But let's just use the current what they got right now. Yeah. So we have this environment, we have this production. So what we done was we copied this, and this is the Azure RM Kubernetes cluster. So if I just did, I don't know, this might take a while as well. So I'll just kick it off now, and then we'll see how it works through anyway. So we're just going to call it, again, Andre and Dave Cube. Naming conventions is important, but we'll cover naming conventions later on. Right now, we're just having some fun, and we're just gonna do Andre Dave Kubernetes. So, yeah.
Okay.
And then the location is going to be a counter location. Now, if we have a look over here, you see how it has. Are you all right, Dave?
Yeah, I see it. So that where it says .example there. The problem is you want it to put up on that resource group that you just created, right? So you're going to put in the name that you just created earlier.
Yeah. So exactly. So right now, what I would want to use is I would want to use the Azure resource group. So I'm going to call it the AKS resource, okay, and .name, right? Because it's going to basically use Azure resource group, which is this, and it's going to use then the name that I've created, which is called AKS resource. So that's going to do that. For this one, so that's how I get the resource group name, because I'm referencing .name from here. Now I'm going to be also referencing the .location, which again is going to be from this example. So you're going to have AKS resource and then .location, right? So that is going to basically use that location and a resource group name. There's a DNS prefix. Something that what happens when you create a Kubernetes cluster? Well, usually, let me show you guys actually what I mean. And I think I covered this last week, but let me just show you again. In this one, I think I have a Kubernetes resource here. So if I look for kube, let me not do it by type, rather. If I go resources and then I do add filter, and then I will do just search for it. I should have a. That's it. I think this is the other subscription. This is the other subscription. Let's have a look at this subscription. Resources. No. Let me have a look at all the subscriptions I got. I'm pretty sure one of them, I think, is this one, the one that's expensive, because Kubernetes in itself expensive. Let's see. I think it's definitely this one. I'm just trying to find it. No.
Security. So is it going to be an AKS if you search for it in the portal search? Will it come up?
Possibly. I might have deleted it. It's okay. So let me deploy it first, and then I'll show you what I mean by the DNS prefix. But I'm just gonna call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just to show you guys, like, hey, this is what's gonna, come up as a prefix. So in terms of so basically what the prefix will be is prefixing this onto my Andre and Dave Kubernetes. And that will be like, if somebody somehow has taken Andre and Dave Kubernetes, props to you. But like the DNS prefix assures that it's going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 into before the Andre and Dave Kubernetes. So, and then you have your default node pools. So usually in Kubernetes, you would have a node pool which is used, and then you will have additional node pools. Right now, we're just interested in just creating this because it's required. You won't be able to create without it. Identity, again, we'll just use a system assigned one. Tags, we probably could ditch tags if we wanted to. In fact, what we should do is
a sandbox or something.
Yeah, let's call it development. We just started. We're calling it development. I mean, you could call it sandbox. I'll just do development for now. Yeah. So that's all. So we can see that I've got an example, but let's actually, you know what? I'm going to leave this as AKS resource, but I probably should name it better. But for now, and I will just call this my AKS. Right, so this is my AKS. This is what I'm going to be using for the AKS stuff, and this is what we're going to be using for the resource. So I'm just going to save it. I'm going to give it a plan, and then let's see what happens. Right, so the plan has gone through. It's going to deploy my Kubernetes version with all the known after apply. It's going to have a DNS prefix with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's go ahead and apply this. This is going to use apply an auto proof. And I need to do -. So it's generating the plan again.
Yeah.
And now just going to create the Azure Kubernetes cluster.
So, and then what's the, you have the standard D2 V2 VMs for that, right? That SKU, that was the default.
Yeah, so the SKU is the default. This is what Microsoft provide maybe for you. To be honest, if you're developing, you might want a little bit like a lower one. But again, if you are in production and you have heavy workloads, you might need the larger SKU VM size. So, but this is again for your default node pool. What we are talking about, create an additional node pools. So this is what you should have as a regular, but then obviously the heavy node pools should have much more VM size. Again, this is what Terraform provide. You could go cheaper, you could go more expensive. Some recommendations are there from Microsoft. We can have a look at the best practices and what the best ones are afterwards. So it's still creating a Kubernetes cluster. This is I think it has gotten a lot faster. I was speaking to a person who was like working with this about 5 or 6 years ago, and he said like, "Hey, this is it was absolutely dog slow before to deploy it, but now it's kind of picking up now, and the fact that we haven't really specified much, it should create it." So let's have a look to see if we can look at my Visual Studio subscription, look at my resource groups, because we're going to be looking at deploying to Android. And there you go. We have a Kubernetes service that is still creating, as we can see. But what I was talking about in terms of the prefix is, you notice, in order for me to connect to the API server address, and now it has a DNS prefix of this. So it's a public cluster. So anybody can actually get to my public cluster at the moment. And that'll be the plan later on to actually, get that going, get that sorted, in terms of like converting this into a virtual private. It's going to take us weeks or maybe even months to do it. I might even like put some of these sessions as live recording. I really want you guys to see everything I'm doing, but at the same time, I want to make sure you guys see what I'm doing. So I might extend the sessions. Like Dave might not be here, but I'll just be working in the background, and you'll just see me deploy it. So we'll have a think about that. If anyone's interested in seeing that type of thing, let me know as well in the chats or comments. I would be more than happy to do that. Right, so yeah, that's deploying. So let's have a look. As we can see, so AKS can be, so if you're actually working to develop any features for AKS, and you need the AKS to be rebooted or whatever, it can take a bit of time. So, just something to keep in mind. Don't promise people that you'll be able to do everything in one day, because essentially keep in mind the deployment time of Kubernetes clusters as well. Of course, once your Kubernetes cluster is deployed, most of the time you should be able to modify it as it needs to. Certain features of AKS do require for you to recreate AKS. So something to keep in mind, figure out what features from AKS perspective you may need, and whether you'll need to recreate it. And that way it'll help you with your kind of development plan that, going forward. So we have deployed AKS. Okay, that's
nice.
That's great. So, we can, if I view my AKS right now, and I just refresh, it should be, yeah, it's succeeded and running. That's great. Okay, cool. So what shall we do next? Let's go through our module. So we are using Azure Kubernetes cluster and the AKS resource. Now, if we compare this to one of the examples, let's use a startup example. what do they have? They have a module AKS, which is actually going back 2 dots. So
Two levels up. Wow.
Yeah. So the module is actually going to be using 1 and 2. So it should be using this, right? So in fact, this is your, it should be, yeah, this is your AKS module. Wow. So even though you see these examples, well, essentially we're building as examples, just to reiterate a certain point, is that we're essentially having the examples here. So this is here, right? So the module is already referencing that there. I just need to then reference the module. So if I go into the examples itself, and then I look at the main.tf, we have the Azure Virtual Network. We have the prefix. Don't worry, I'm just looking at examples from a different section. That's why it's all red. But
because I think as you moved it, I think it's like that reference is no longer valid.
Exactly. It's because and and here you can see all these variables. So let me just to make sense, to make it absolute sense. I'll just delete it and look at the examples from here, right? So from here, if we again look at startup and we look at dot, all this is, right, is mainly your variables. So this is what your variables will be and using it. So what we can do is, instead of having it like this, we're going to copy this section, okay, just as a nothing we might need. I don't want to go too much into it. I want to just do some basic stuff. So what we will need is something called module and AKS, and then we will need this. We will also need source. So let's start off with this bit, okay? And then in our main.tf, instead of, so there'll be a couple of things. So this is a module for AKS. But our source is not going to be full stop. It's actually going to be, was it full stop slash, and then it should be it should be Terraform. I'm just going to rename this, although this is where I got it from, Terraform Azure AKS, which makes perfect sense. For me, I'm just going to want to keep it a little bit more simpler. So I'm just going to do AKS module. Okay. Come on, Visual Studio Code.
See if you can just go ahead and type it in the path. Catch up.
Yeah, it's doing it. The problem is I also have GitHub. So when I copied this, I had Git. So in fact, I don't really need Git for this. So I'm just going to move it to recycle bin because we're not really using that. You know, we're not using Git at the moment. We will use Git. That's 100%. But I just want to delete that. And we'll delete anything GitHub as well. Just so we know that, hey, this AKS module is just going to be a module of our own. What we can do, though, is we can create a Git over here. I will do that in a bit. So in terms of the source, so let me see.
So Terraform only reads the TF files that are in the directory where you run it from. So if you put this in a parent directory or some subdirectory, you have to refer to it like this with the source line.
Exactly, because like if I run it off here, it's only going to recognize, hey, I've only got main, outputs, providers, and variables. It is not going to then look into my later folders unless I reference it. So in this way, we're going to actually call AKS module. and then we will just close it off. And then, so let's have a look. Why is, and then I believe it is, that should be it. Required attribute resource group found. So as you can see, it's already telling me, hey, this is great that you've done a source, but it has not found the required module for Azure resource group. So let's have a quick look into the verified module to see how that is structured. So if I go back into the main.tf, we see that, hey, we got resource group name and then local.resource group name, right? So we're going to take this. And then we're going to do this. So in this way, by using this module, what we're doing here is we're using the local resource group name. Now we've
AKS research. We would change it to AKS resource. You want to do that renaming too?
Yeah. So the resource group name, I think that should be fine. But well, no, I don't think it will. What we want to do is we want to do the resource group name should be okay. So that's going to be referencing that. So with this AKS module, right. So the next bit that we want to do is we want to go into the examples, because if I just try to run this, it's not gonna produce me anything at the moment. I just gonna be
what happens now? Like if you run it just that.
Okay, so what I'm going to do in order to also save costs is I'm going to I'll X this out. I'll create a new file with it. It doesn't really matter if it's from the internet way that you can get, but and I'm just gonna have the module. Okay, so it's not really gonna. I'm not thinking it's gonna do much, but let me just have a look. Aaron is still trying to delete examples for me, so that's great. Come on. Where is it? There you go. So you're curious to see if anything does happen. It might, but I don't think it will. Let's have a look at the Terraform plan. What we should see, so we see that the module is not installed. Yes, so whenever you reference any module, you would need to run Terraform init to actually put that module into your state. Well, into not to your state. Sorry, not to your state, but to your. If you notice over here, we have these folders, right? You have .terraform. Now, when I ran .init, it basically has this. It has this. So if I open it in any text editor, it's not going to show me much because it's an executable. So, but like, yeah, it's basically what it's using. Yeah, that's the compiled version. That's why it it's like, for example, you're packaging up like some sort of package or whatever. What it does is it packages up all these files into like one. So that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to do Terraform init and to install the module. Oh, nice. So now, if we run Terraform plan, see what happens. So it actually is saying, hey, you're using this module. It's actually going to add two things. It's going to add the Kubernetes version keeper, and it's going to add the cluster name keeper. It's going to delete all of the Kubernetes that we deployed already, and then let's have a look to see what else. but it also errored out because it said resource precondition on AKS module log analytics.tf is line 22, and resource is the condition is looking for. It's basically looking for a log analytics workspace name. So what we might do, just as a example, let me see. So it's using this, right? And it's using the Azure log analytics workspace. You must set and var to create. So it's basically saying, hey, yeah, we need to create this. It needs to reference some sort of variable, right? So what we could do is we could actually create that and edit it. So if we did AKS module, and then we did into our, because if we, sorry, I just want to go back to the startup. In the main.tf, you would see, let's have a look at we're looking for previous
example.
Yeah, so it says log analytics workspace enabled. Let's put this to false, okay? We don't want a log analytics workspace yet. We will do, but I just want to, as I said, I want to break down this module completely and not understand it off by heart. So, let's try this.
When you're reviewing the text that comes back here, there's a maximize for the output. Oh, that's not asking for something else. It's next to the X in the upper right corner there. It looks like the little upside down V in the text window to make it a little easier to look at that text. So yeah, not that one, but the above where it says PowerShell in the lower right corner.
Right corner.
So there's the X, but right next to the X, click the little upside down V next to the X. Yeah, that'll help you to see what's going on there.
Yeah. So let's see. So I think we got past the log analytics workspace. Now it's asking me for the RBAC AD is true and RBAC access control enabled as false. So enabling Azure Active Directory integration requires that role-based access control is set to true. So what we could do is we could grab this text, okay?
There's a couple of those.
Where's
a couple of variables. So yeah, same one.
Yeah, we're going to be going through this for quite a bit, but I do want to, emphasize that this is a way you can actually go through any Terraform module, actually, if you wanted to, and just try and figure out on your own, So I do want Azure Active Integrate AD to be enabled. So let's just have a look to see what happens if we just plan this. So
it's a cluster name.
We see that we have, there were two errors before. Now we got rid of that error by actually doing role-based access control to be enabled, which is true, which is good. And then basically what I'm trying to say is that you can even go a step further later on by putting this as variables as well. Like, for example, so you see how I have the log analytics workspace enabled equals false, right, in this module. But because now I'm working in my main kind of branch, which is like because I'm working in this branch, all these files are going to be compiled. So I could actually say, usually a good practice is if you're ever using something, just name it the same. because at the end of the day, you just might get confused or whatnot. Now it says no declaration found, but that's fine. So what we would need to do is we would need to go into our variables file and then create a new variable, and we're going to call it log analytics workspace, and we're going to put a default of false. And then we'll save that. Now, if we go back to our main.tf, we can see that it's actually updated. It's no longer complaining that, hey, there's no variable here. It's recognized that Visual Studio Code and Terraform has recognized that, hey, it has gone through all the .tf files, and it has recognized that, to be honest, if I had it named as whatever, I could name it, for example, myself, Andre.tf. It would still recognize this. However, for human readability perspective and best practice, it's best that you use variables.tf, because everybody would know, hey, that's where all my variables are. You could even go a step further and just put, as you have the variables, you can have the tf-vars files and reference that. But we will go through that later on. So now that we've done this, and we've done a variable for log analytics, and where were we stuck on? So if I plus this again, we were stuck on AKS main.tf, Azure RM Kubernetes main, var cluster underscore name is null, var.prefix is this. So it's expecting these two variables. So just like we did with the Dave creating for Azure, right? So we if we remember this this text over here, we have created the Andre and Dave Kubernetes as the name, right? And we also had a prefix as well of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is essentially the same. So what we're going to be doing is let's just say cluster dot underscore name. Yep. What's up?
Oh, I saw it. Yeah, it was in your IntelliSense. So, and you're going to use a variable for this one as well?
Yeah. Oh, so what we're going to do is we're going to call it and I'm just going to do mod, like for the module, right? So that's going to be our cluster name. And then our prefix could be one other best practice would be always just get the equals to here. Like, it doesn't matter where you are, just get them over to one side, because honestly, it's so much better in terms of readability. It's like if you keep the code over here and over here, you're just gonna struggle later on. So just try and keep that code consistent across. That's yeah.
Right. This is good. So, and you're gonna make that into okay. So you're gonna put them in here. So, all right, gotcha. Keep going.
So we've created it here. Again, we could have created variables. I just wanted to show you guys that you could actually create variables. We will work through variables, and what we will do later on is convert all of these into variables, later. But for now, we're just going to do Terraform plan. And let's have a look to see what happens.
It needs quotes. You need the cluster name.
Yes, okay. That is a very good spot. Thank you very much. Do I need one for the prefix? I do. Yeah.
Test it without. I wonder if it does. I wonder if it figures out numbers like other stuff. Figures out numbers.
Let's have a look.
I don't know.
Okay, so something has happened, and we have had no errors. So let's check out the actual plan. So we will see that we got a whole Kubernetes cluster that it's going to create. It's going to have a prefix of 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to use whatever is currently default in the module. Now, this is one of the things which I kind of irks me about the modules, is that they are not fully variabilized. So therefore, you have to go through the module itself and variabilize it again, which is like, it's not something that you want. You want the example to have all your so you want for this bit, for example, or my bit to have all the variables, and this should just be the logic. You don't want, because you can see, you've got true, false, true. We never did this. The reason why is because in this module, if we look at it, has its own variables, and in this variables, we see that we can see that defaults are false, defaults could be null, defaults are true, and and certain things are already there. So it's just to get the AKS working. I just wish, and this is what, to be honest, from my point of view, is what we're building. We're building a modular approach available on the internet for everyone to use. So let's try and do that. Yeah, but I'm just one person. But they have teams behind us. But it's okay. We'll get there. So in terms of variables.tf, we saw that we put this here, but that's why you see all of this there. So, and also as part of the plan, it will delete the other cluster, because remember we deleted it from the so shall we just run and apply it and see what happens?
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Okay, so I'm just going to scroll down. Still deleted my examples. I'll probably have to force delete it later with Visual Studio Code, but it's okay. So we're going to do apply. I just want to double check the plan before I apply it. So we're going to have 4 to add and 1 to destroy. Let's do it. So it's going to create all of the cluster name keeper. Now, those are the things that I kind of want to look into further. So let's make a note on that and then figure out exactly what these are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the deprecated stuff.
And the deprecated stuff as well. As you can see, public network access is deprecated, and as it should be, because you should not be deploying any Kubernetes clusters, especially in production, as public. Everything should be private, and that's what we're going to be working towards. So we're going to, it's destroying. It's created those. So how Terraform usually works is it destroys certain things. And, well, we can see that the main cluster is getting created. And the cluster, the one that we are going to delete, we're going to be deleted. So that's basically what we are doing. There will be provider versions. This is one of the things that people really get confused in terms of Azure RAM and providers and specifying providers, because usually what happens, and what I see a lot, is people basically copy the certain provider from wherever they found it, right? And then it just stays there. Nobody updates it. It's just always going to be that version. And in terms of the providers, what it is like, basically, if I look at SARP and providers, you want to make sure that the Terraform version that you're using is a required version. So essentially, you're not using a version of 0.13 to deploy 1.75 or whatever it is. It's saying that it has to be a minimum required version over here. It's using an Azure RAM provider from HashiCorp. So that's using that. And yeah, but again, I'll cover this in a future video. Right. So what did it say? It has said that it has complained now. Now this is what you'll find as well, because yeah, so it's asking you must specify client app ID, server app ID. Sorry, you must specify client app ID and server app ID and server app secret when using manage and RBAC. So, well, why is that? Because I think when we went into the AKS and we did role-based access control. Now, the role-based access control requires some sort of app ID, server ID, and app secret. Now,
an app registration. Looks like you need to do an app registration.
I think this is a topic for a future video. So I would suggest let's just do false for now for this video, and then we will work through it on the next or the soon-to-be videos. All right. So let's just apply that and see what happens again. It might error out now because basically it requires enabling Azure Active Right. So because it says RBAC AAD is true, let's just for this video, but I do this is definitely something I want to cover in a future, basically next week. This is really important. So because we're soon to be running out of time, I just want to run this. I want to put this to false. So it's saying because it's true, it needs this to be true. But now what we're going to do is we're going to put it both to false. And seems like it likes it. So let's just try it again and see what happens.
All right. You already shared the link for the approved module for AKS, right? The validated module, it's called, right?
Oh, the verified module.
Verified modules. Let me see. Let me see if I find.
Yeah, I believe it is this. It was actually called Terraform Azure AKS. I will post a comment here. I have posted a comment for everyone to see. You should see it's this.
Cool.
So it's now creating a cluster. So let's create a cluster and see what happens. I realize we are a little bit over time, but it's okay. We're having fun. That's what matters, right?
Yeah. Nobody's gonna call the stop on us here. So let's say it's deploying. Hey, while this is happening, can you show me the deployment inside of the resource group? Because here, I wonder if it shows you what step is happening.
Sure. So if I go into here and I go into here, we can see that, hey, this is the Andre and Dave TF mod. And we can see that it's created. We can see that we've specified the 1, 2, 3, 4. We're using the network type plugin now, which is Kubernetes. If we specify it to be true and Ardo to be true, and we fix the errors, then it would say Azure CNI. But this one is the Kubernetes. So this is like not using Azure, it's using Kubernetes within. But what I think is a better practice in terms of the Azure perspective is to combine the Azure Active Directory, which with this. So instead of managing both set of accounts within Kubernetes and within here, you just manage it within Azure AD, and then you can focus on it. And sorry, when I say Azure AD, I mean Entra ID. I'm sorry. I'm still in my old zone, and that's how I learned it. So I have not converted into the Entra ID practice yet. Okay, so apologies.
You're good until they haven't updated all the documentation yet either, so you're still okay.
I'm still okay. Okay, cool.
That's right.
But yeah, if we look at the so we'll wait to see the namespaces and the.
So show me the resource group, and then I just want to see in the navigation for the resource group on the left, go to deployments, and I want to see, because I'm not real familiar when things get deployed in.
So when you deploy Kubernetes, there's a couple of things that happen. First of all, it's going to deploy to your Andre and Dave TF, the main resource, which is your Kubernetes service. However, what it also does, and this might get confusing to some folks, but it'll also create you an MC. Now, you see an MC over here? The MC is based. Oh, sorry, this is the old one. So this is where your kind of back end kind of the Kubernetes lives. So when you create your Kubernetes, you will create one that will, you will say, oh, hey, create it here, but it also creates the main control, basically where your stuff is. So it'll have your load balancer, your virtual network, your agent pool, everything else like that. This is my other one, but I'm just wondering, where is the one for the one that we just created? Let me just refresh. Maybe I can't. Let me check out resource groups. I probably should clear this out, but I'm trying to find the one that is for us, if we can find it. We're deploying in UK South, so let's see. I'm not sure exactly where it is. It must be this. I don't know why it's calling it sad, and let's see if we can actually find something like that. Maybe it's created like some sort of a random thing for me. But let's just see if I can find this kind of text in my Visual Studio Code. So if I search for no, so it must there must be a random generator which is creating me that. That is definitely something we can check out next week and figure out how that actually deploys. But I'm pretty sure that this is basically, because if I look at the activity log for this, because it has no, well, I'm wondering, is this like something I deployed before, or where has it fully deployed it? Maybe it wasn't this. Maybe it was maybe it's another resource group that's being used. I'm not sure. I think I'm just like kind of like now. Oh no, here it is. Okay, cool. Here it is. And Andre and Dave TF mod. It finally updated. So the one that we were looking for, because we created Andre and Dave TF, that's why it was there. But yeah, you can see it's got your VMSS, you got your agent pool as a managed identity, virtual network, and yeah. So if we have a look at this, that's it. It's deployed. So essentially, the deployment has gone through, and it has deployed me a Kubernetes based on the module. So you see, that's how we've taken a module like from verified modules or whatever, and we started to convert it into actually using this. So what we're going to do from next week is we're going to expand it and make sure, and work and work through it. So what I would like to do is I would like to create a Git repository from this. So what would we do? Yeah, I'm trying to remember the Git repository with the files. So we will need to create a Git repository. So I'm going to go into my GitHub right now. Let me just go into my GitHub because I have a few repositories. I just don't want to share. So because I'm part of many projects and repositories, so I have to be very careful when I show you guys what I have. So if I'm just going to create a new repository, let me just put this out here. So what I did was in my GitHub, I went to create a new repository. I'm going to use my username. So, and I'm going to create the repository. So I'm calling it AKS module. AKS, what should I say? I will call it AKS deployment. Okay. And I will create it public so anyone on the internet can view it. We're gonna just create the repository in my personal account. Then, let's see if this works. We're gonna do git clone. So we have cloned a repository. Well, I've cloned an empty repository, but it's called AKS deployment. But this is where my git is. So what I'm going to do is, in fact, I'm going to copy this .git. I'm going to paste it over here, and now my .git is actually going to be having all of this. So you know, you can just copy .git sometimes. You know, just like.
That's a neat trick. Show me your Git status now that you've done that. That's cute. So, I'm curious.
First of all, Git status. Let's have a look.
I just learned something. That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, it's telling me that I have not committed this. Now, one of the things that I want to do is make sure that on my .git is I should have a .ignore as well. So what I'm gonna have a quick look at is if I look at the Terraform AKS Azure AKS repository, and I have a look at this, and if I look at my and I have a look at what I'm looking for is the .git. What am I looking for? There should be a .ignore. So what I want is this file, this .git ignore file, because there are certain things generated by Terraform that I don't really want to copy into my base, right? So what I will do is I'll create a new file called .git ignore, and then I'm going to paste all of this, and I'm going to save it. So as you can see now, you see how we had before my .terraform, .terraform lock HCL, my terraform.tf state, and my .terraform backup. That is not going to be put to my Git repository. So people, if they use it again or whatever, they won't have that as a ignore, right? So they won't have it. So when I upload the stuff, it's not going to have it. Now, one of the things that you want to do is you want to put your Terraform TF state in some sort of remote storage. So like your remote storage container, or there's Terraform Cloud. We'll just put it into a storage container. we'll do that probably next week. Right now, I'm just gonna save it as that. So we will do get add. I guess does not have a commit checked out. Let me see what is. Yeah, because I didn't initialize. Yeah, 1 second. Let me just do something. Was it? Let's just have a quick look. Why does it not have? I think there's a command. I forget what it was. GitHub. Git. Save. Yes, that's the one. Git in it. So we need to run Git in it. Like Terraform. Terraform in it, Git in it. Git add. And now it's still not. So let me check out. Let's try to see.
I'm looking up that error as well.
I'm trying and publish.
Oh, if you have a subdirectory with a .git directory. So make sure you don't have any subdirectories that have a .git directory.
Sorry?
So remove the .git folder from any subdirectories that you might have here. So you could ignore, but no, it's not there.
Oh wait, we have two ignores, I think.
I don't know if that any other subdirectories.
Yeah, because we have this AKS module, but we have this .git. Let's have a look. Maybe I did .git run.
What's in AKS deployment? What's in the AKS deployment folder right now?
The AKS deployment folder. Oh, it has. Oh, yeah, it has .git as well. Yeah, let's delete that. We don't need that. Continue. Yes, you're right. Because what we did was we basically copied this folder, but we needed to delete this.
I think you just have to wait for VS Code to catch up. See if your command works now. I think VS Code will catch up.
Yeah, there you go. So now it's added. So if we did git commit -m, and then we call it initial commit. And then we did git push. It has now pushed it to a new branch of main. So if we go into our GitHub repository, which is github.com, public, and then AKS, and then AKS deployment. And then I'll basically share this. We can see that, hey, we have all of this. This is the stuff that we worked on. We will add a README later on and stuff, but hopefully this kind of helps you guys understand how you might work with a module, the verified module. And then I'm looking forward to expanding on this, improving AKS to the best practice as possible, and then we'll go from there. For now, I'm just going to just do Terraform destroy because I don't really care and I want to save some money. So I'm just going to destroy that. It's just going to now go through it, and it's going to say, hey, to me, there's this kind of stuff. So I just need to press yes in a second. Yes. So, and we're going to destroy all of that.
Fantastic.
Right. And that's kind of it in a nutshell. Again, I will copy this. Feel free to follow along if you want. It is over here on the GitHub. So yeah, again, check it out. Let me know what you think, and yeah, we will go for next week. I hope this has been useful.
That's cool stuff, Andre. That's gonna be fun. So for Thursday, I've been exploring with some Azure samples around OpenAI, and there's a particular one that maybe run into something called Azure's or Azure Developer CLI (AZD) to deploy this sample. So it's really cool how this is set up, and this looks to be a way for Microsoft and other teams to put together really easy to deploy sample environments. So I'll be talking about that while this thing deploys, and it takes a little while. It took like 20 minutes to deploy last time. So maybe I'll deploy a version, and then we'll talk about and run a separate deployment, and then kind of have a look around it.
What you can do if you want, you can maybe record it and edit it. We can always play the video, but that's up to you. If you find that time consuming, that's no worries to you as well. So, feel free to do whatever is easier for you. Okay.
Just record it. Yeah. Okay. But then, being able to look through the Azure developer command line tool and be able to see what's in that sample, and then get at least hands-on to be able to show what that looks like and how to explore that. There's some really neat stuff going on in that space. So I'm learning a lot. It'll be fun to share.
Yeah. That sounds really cool. I can't wait to see all of the Azure AI stuff on Thursday. Yeah, we're definitely going to be doing it this Thursday now, and yeah, looking forward to learning all of that stuff. And then for this one, we'll be doing it next Tuesday as well. If you want more of the video, like if you want me to cover for like 3 or 4 hours, hey, let me know. I'll consider it, and maybe I might do that. Dave might not be able to join, but I can do that, and you guys can watch me, and I'll try and respond to the comments when I can. I'll keep an eye on the chat. So yeah, that's pretty much us. So thank you for joining. It was really fun to deploy this, and looking forward to just building on top of it.
It's cool stuff, Andre. Thanks for bringing me along and walking through this with me. So I look forward to the next time.
Looking forward to next time. If you love this content, please subscribe, give it a like, give a bell. That will be really helpful towards it. And just leave a comment to say, hey, I enjoyed this, or I deployed this, or if you have any issues, let me know as well. Right. See you till next time.